Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. I am recording this on the 5th of November 2025, shortly after the virtual hearing on the state's motion for restitution was entertained by Judge Stephen J. Hippler. It was a public hearing. It was approximately 20 minutes in length. Judge Hippler called the matter, and appearances were made by the state of Idaho. It was their motion for restitution, so they got to speak first. And it was attorney William Thompson, lead prosecutor in Idaho versus Kohberger, who spoke on behalf of the state. All three of Mr. Kohberger's defense attorneys who appeared at the sentencing proceeding appeared today. And again, this was virtually. Everyone appeared via Zoom. Ms. Massoth, Ms. Barlow, and also Ms. Taylor. Mr. Kohberger, as the court confirmed, the beginning of the hearing, was not present. He was excused from participating in this hearing. Mr. Thompson basically argued what the paperwork stated that was signed and filed by Ashley Jennings, filed the documents, although Mr. Thompson argued that two things should be awarded to victims as restitution, one being travel expenses and the other being Ern's funeral expenses. Mr. Thompson, with respect to travel expenses, admitted wholly that he had misread what the victims would be entitled to from the Victims' Compensation Fund. He thought that travel expenses would be reimbursable, learned later that they were not. And that's why he's now seeking reimbursement of these costs from Mr. Kohberger. The court at that time said there are signed orders here. He stipulated to these matters. And why now, and what authority do I have to now set aside a contract that the parties had agreed to? It was indicated later during this proceeding that the defense had filed a reply brief, and we thought that they would be, to the state's opposition that was filed last week. That reply brief is still not on the docket, but it was referred to during the hearing. At a certain point during the hearing, Judge Hippler then asked the defense counsel, the plea agreement indicated that funeral expenses would be compensated by Mr. Kohberger, and asked under what authority Mr. Kohberger would have not to make good on that bargain, pointing out that the plea agreement took the DP off the table, and so why shouldn't Mr. Kohberger be held to his commitment to compensate for funeral expenses. But one point that did come up is that Ms. Massoth, in arguing that Mr. Kohberger lacked an ability to pay these matters, the court pointed out, well, he had previously agreed to pay over $20,000 in restitution, pointing out that he has received during the 3 years that he was incarcerated 5 figures in monies put into his account. Ms. Massoth argued, but that doesn't mean that in the future he's going to receive those monies. And she pointed out that most of those monies came from family to be able to speak with him while he was incarcerated. Judge Hippler asked, well, have the families disowned him? Or are they not going to continue to speak with him? So there was a lot of back and forth. And the bottom line is that at the end of the proceeding, the court did not make a verbal proclamation from the bench as to how he would rule. He indicated he would take matters under advisement and would issue a court order in the future regarding what the resolution on the motion is. If it's going to be granted, if it's going to be denied, if it's going to be granted in part, denied in part. Once that document as well as the reply hits the docket, we will, of course, advise you. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you very much for joining us here today.